Back in 2015, my cousin Caleb and I shared a fascination with urban exploration. We had ventured into deserted factories, abandoned schools, and derelict farmhouses that seemed like they might collapse with the slightest gust of wind. We weren't reckless, though. We tested every floor for stability before stepping, wore masks in dusty areas, and steered clear of any location that appeared to have active security. Yet, there was one place we had been discussing for months, but never summoned the courage to explore: the massive deserted mansion perched on the edge of Clearwater Lake. This property was the kind you only glimpsed from afar. It sat well back from the main road, shielded by towering iron gates that had been crushed inward long ago. Overgrown pines and thick shrubbery enveloped the driveway, concealing most of the mansion unless you caught a brief look through the trees while driving past. Local legends about this place were abundant. The prevailing tale was that an affluent family lived there throughout the 90s before vanishing without warning. Stories said they left in the dead of night, leaving behind everything: furniture, clothes, dishes, even cherished family portraits. Theories ranged from financial disaster and witness protection programs to far more sinister possibilities. Nobody ever bought it afterward. The estate just sat rotting for over 20 years. The day we went, the sky was dull and still. We left our car near a trailhead half a mile away, then cut through the woods to stay out of sight from the road. As we neared, the mansion's roofline emerged between the branches, and I was struck by how massive the house really was. It towered 3 stories tall, with tall windows and a wide porch wrapping around the front, all in varying states of decay. The paint hung off in long strips, resembling peeling sunburn, and parts of the porch sagged as if ready to cave. We moved cautiously to the rear, staying quiet in case anyone was nearby. The back door was unlocked. The instant we crossed the threshold, the atmosphere shifted. The air was thick and still, faintly smelling of lake water and dust. The kitchen greeted us first. It was haunting, like a film set stuck in time. Plates stacked neatly on the countertop, a coffee mug stained with a ring of dried grounds next to the sink. Cabinets left open to reveal long-expired cans and boxes. A faded calendar still nailed to the wall was frozen on May 1997. We explored the lower floor slowly. The living room held furniture draped under yellowed sheets. The fireplace still contained crumbled ashes, like the last fire had burnt itself out decades ago. Family photos lined the hallway walls, showing smiling faces at barbecues and dressed up for Christmas. Oddly, I felt chills looking at them. There's something deeply unsettling about bright family moments preserved in a house abandoned for years. Many photos had sun-bleached faces so pale they seemed almost ghostly. Upstairs was where things began to feel wrong. The first bedroom had a neatly made bed, but all dresser drawers were pulled open and utterly empty. Another room's floor was covered edge to edge in newspapers from 1997, each open to the classifieds. At first it meant nothing to me, until I noticed every date clustered within a single week in July, and every circled ad was a discreet request for private sales. The master bedroom was the most unsettling. Heavy curtains were drawn tight, but when I pulled them aside, windows had been sealed shut from the inside with boards. The closet door was secured with a rusted padlock, and the floor in front was scratched deeply, like someone tried, and failed, to haul something heavy out. Caleb wanted to break open the lock, but I convinced him against it. We had no tools, and I wasn't willing to break anything in a place we weren't supposed to be. He then suggested we check the basement before we left. The basement door was tucked down a narrow hallway next to the kitchen. When we opened it, a cold, damp breeze wafted up, smelling strongly of mildew. The wooden stairs groaned beneath us with each step, threatening to give way. The space was expansive, encased in thick stone walls with wooden shelves along one side. Most shelves were empty, save a few rusted cans and a broken lantern. But at the center of the room, illuminated by our flashlights, stood 5 old, mismatched chairs arranged in a perfect circle. Unlike everything else, these seats were pristine. No dust, no decay. They looked recently used. I was about to whisper something to Caleb when we both froze. Somewhere above us, a door slammed shut. The noise was unmistakable, quickly followed by footsteps crossing the floor overhead. We cut off our flashlights immediately and stood silent in the pitch dark, barely daring to breathe. The footsteps halted, then resumed, moving closer to the hallway above the basement. My heart pounded violently, thumping loud in my ears. We hadn't seen a single car outside, no other sounds had emerged since we arrived here. Whoever was above hadn't moved until now. Then the footsteps stopped right above the basement door, followed by the rattling of the door handle, a sound that made my blood run ice cold. Caleb seized my arm and dragged me toward the farthest corner of the basement, where a small ground-level window was cracked and partly hidden by a rotting shutter. It was barely big enough to squeeze through, but we didn't hesitate. I went first, snagging my jacket on the sharp glass before dropping into the cold, damp dirt outside. Caleb was right behind me. We bolted into the surrounding woods, not daring to glance back until we were well beyond the tree line. When I finally looked over my shoulder, the basement door stood wide open. A tall figure loomed in the doorway, too far to see details, just motionless, with its head tilted slightly as if watching us. We didn't stop running until we reached the car. Both of us were so shaken that we barely spoke on the drive home. That night, I kept replaying every detail in my mind. The chairs, the footsteps, the locked closet, and worst of all, the eerie silhouette watching us as we escaped. A few weeks later, Caleb called me. He posted in a local online group asking about the history of the mansion, and an older man had replied, mentioning that sightings inside had happened before. Apparently squatters sometimes appeared there. But that didn't explain the strange, ritual-like circle of chairs in the basement. At this point, it's not my problem anymore. I'm just grateful we got out alive.